Hello, Waterloo Region. You're listening to Meet the Candidate on CKMS-FM 102.7 Radio Waterloo. My name is Bob Jonkman. In this episode, we meet Hans Roach, an independent candidate for Waterloo. In Meet the Candidate, Radio Waterloo provides 25 minutes of free airtime to Waterloo Region candidates running in the 2025 federal election. This is not an interview, but 25 minutes of unstructured time. Candidates could tell you about their platform, the local Waterloo Region issues they'll be tackling, why they're running, or what they do outside of politics. Note that the views expressed are not necessarily those of the Radio Waterloo Board of Directors, volunteers, sponsors, or advertisers. Now, let's meet the candidate, Hans Roach.
Good day, CKMS listeners. Thank you for tuning in. My name is Hans Roach, and I'm running as an independent candidate for Member of Parliament here in Waterloo in the upcoming federal election on April 28th, just less than 2 weeks from now. I want to thank CKMS for this platform. I actually came into CKMS. It used to be in a different location back in Waterloo, back in the late 70s. My father used to come in for 1 hour each week and play some old calypso, soca, some reggae music, and it was great just watching him have his little passion. But I really want to thank CKMS for this platform and the community for your privilege of your time and attention. And as your independent voice, I'm here to champion the issues that I think really matter most to Waterloo, which is affordability, sustainable growth, and a government that really listens. And, let's build a stronger, more connected community together. So today, it's interesting. Bob had just said that it's 25 minutes of unstructured time, and I also said to Bob previous to coming on air here that this, of all the things I've done, this is probably the most stressful. I'm speaking for 25 minutes by myself, not really bouncing ideas off each other. And so I may repeat a few things, but, we'll get there. And I want, as I said, I want to thank you for your time. So I'll just share a little bit with you about who I am and why I'm asking for your trust to represent the community, Waterloo, in Ottawa. So I've proudly called Waterloo home for over 50 years, and this city isn't just where I live. It's where I've raised my family, I built my career. I was in medical technology before I got into politics, and I've dedicated my life to serving others. So as a city councillor and a former school board trustee, I've worked pretty hard. I've worked tirelessly to make Waterloo a place where everyone can thrive. But my commitment goes beyond the council chambers, whether it's mentoring youth. I mentor with the Canadian Caribbean Association here in Waterloo Region. I fundraise for Special Olympics and Easter Seals, and I coach sports. I volunteer at the food banks. I was president of Waterloo Minor Hockey for many years, and it's a passion that I have. I always try to show up for the community, and it's not really about titles or recognition. It's really about making a difference. I think one of the most fun times I've had in serving the community was raising money for Easter Seals. I was selected to be a celebrity dancer. Can you believe it? In the Waterloo edition of Dancing with the Stars. It was 6 weeks of grueling, humbling, but very hard work to prepare for the night. We raised over $50,000 that night, and here in Waterloo, and it's a night I'll never forget. The following year, I had the honor of being selected as a judge on Dancing with the Stars, and we raised even more money from very generous people here in Waterloo. But beyond public service, I'm a husband, grandfather. I'm a first-generation Canadian. My father's from Trinidad. My mother's from Germany, hence the name Hans. My parents came to this country with dreams of a better life, and I've carried on that sense of gratitude and responsibility with me every day. So as I mentioned, I spent my career in medical technology, working across sectors to innovate and solve problems. And that experience really taught me how to bridge gaps and bring people together and get things done. And these are skills that I want to bring to Parliament as your independent voice. I'm not a career politician. I'm not here to play party games or push someone else's agenda. I'm running as an independent because I believe Waterloo deserves a representative who answers only to you, not to a party, just to Waterloo. And my life's work has really been about building trust and solving problems and leaving things better than I found them. From coaching kids on baseball fields or hockey rinks or advocating for better schools and supporting families with food, I've really been guided by one principle, and that is service. Waterloo, I love Waterloo. Waterloo is a vibrant, innovative, caring community, but we face real challenges: affordability, housing, ensuring our growth is sustainable. And as your MP, I'll fight for federal policies that support our local priorities, from investing in mental health and youth programs to securing funding for infrastructure that helps keep moving Waterloo forward. I've spent 5 decades in this community, and I'm ready to take your voice, Waterloo, to Ottawa. So why me? Why do I run for federal offices, and why as an independent? The answer is simple: because the people of Waterloo deserve representation that works for them, not for a political party, not a red or a blue, just Waterloo, not for political party. So, and not an Ottawa agenda, and not someone climbing the next political ladder. Waterloo deserves a voice that is free from partisan constraints, one that's focused solely on what's best for our city and our people. Let's talk about the reality we're facing. Actually, I did some door knocking, and it was really interesting. I went to someone's door, and they were going to vote for the incumbent, and his father was there. His father was visiting from I think just north of Waterloo. And he seemed to be a little bit more on my side, a little bit for change. And his interesting analogy was, we need a crop rotation. We need some change. Waterloo's had the same representative here for 10 years, and I respect her service and acknowledge her efforts. But the truth is, Waterloo hasn't really been getting the results that we deserve. Whether it's federal funding for affordable housing, and I acknowledge, I'm a city councillor, and I acknowledge we did get a half grant, the housing affordability grant, and that's fantastic, and we needed that. We have got some great people in Waterloo that write and apply for these grants, and that's fantastic that it's coming to our community. But our community is growing, and our challenges are evolving, and we need an MP that can really deliver solutions, and not just promises shaped by party talking points. And that's where I come in. As an independent, I'm not bound by a party loyalty or a leader's agenda. My loyalty is only to you, the people of Waterloo. And I'll work with any government, any party, to get results for our community. And here's why that matters more than ever. All signs point to a minority government after this election. And in a minority government, every vote counts. And as an independent MP, I could hold the balance of power. That's an opportunity for Waterloo to have a real say in shaping federal policy. As your independent MP, hopefully, I'll leverage that position to ensure our priorities, from infrastructure, mental health, economic growth, I'll make sure that's all at the front and center. So why do this now? Why not 4 years ago or 8 years ago? I think Waterloo is at a crossroads, and we're a hub of innovation. We're home to world-class universities. We have a booming tech sector, but we're also grappling with affordability challenges and housing shortages. And the need for sustainable growth. And these aren't just local issues. Over the last 10 years, our housing costs have gone up are double, But these aren't, as I said, these aren't just local issues. They require federal action. We need an MP that can hold the next government accountable, whatever party forms it. So, accountable to our needs here in Waterloo. And as I said, I spent over 50 years in this community, from mentoring youth to leading as an elected official. I know how to listen, I know how to advocate, and know how to get things done. And that's the kind of leadership that I want to bring to Waterloo, or bring to Parliament for Waterloo. So, we wake up every morning, or typically we wake up and, we're a Liberal, or we're conservative, or we're Green, or we're NDP. But choosing an independent candidate isn't just a vote against the status quo. It's a vote for accountability. As I mentioned, it's for flexibility and for a representative who puts Waterloo first. As I mentioned, I'm not here to play political games or follow a party script. I'm here to fight for things like better transit, like all day two-way go transit from Waterloo. I'm here to push for federal investments in our schools and our hospitals and small businesses. And I'm here to ensure that every resident, from students to seniors, feel heard in Ottawa. And as an independent, I don't answer to a party whip. I don't get a little slip on my desk every morning telling me how I'm going to vote. I won't vote along party lines just because someone in Ottawa told me to. I'll vote for you, for Waterloo. And that freedom, guys, is a game changer. It means I can focus entirely on what our community needs, on what Waterloo needs, without the pressure to follow a party agenda or prioritize national talking points over local priorities. And my only loyalty is to the people of Waterloo, and that's a promise I'll carry into the House of Commons. We're heading into election, as I mentioned, that we're going to head into a minority government. I'm sure of it, and in that kind of government, as I mentioned, we all, the votes count. We can tip the scales, and that's real power, and that's power that we can bring back to our riding here in Waterloo. And imagine this: instead of towing the party line, I bring Waterloo's concerns straight to the heart of Ottawa, unfiltered, unapologetic, and united. And whether it's fighting for federal funding for, as I mentioned, transit, or securing support for our tech sector, or advocating for affordable housing, I will be there representing you and not a party playbook. The power of being an independent lies in accountability. As I mentioned, without party constraints, you can work with any government, any MP, just to get results for Waterloo. And we want to hold this government accountable. And in a minority parliament where deals are made and compromises are struck, an independent MP can really amplify Waterloo's voice. I may sound like I'm repeating myself. As I mentioned, it's 20 minutes here of unstructured, as Bob mentioned, time. So it's really close to my heart, and I really want to make that emphasis about how an independent wants to hold people accountable, and we're free from party lines. So, I want to make sure that Waterloo's voice is impossible to ignore. So today, why don't we dive into what's really happening in Waterloo, and the challenges we face, and the opportunities we're missing, and why we need a stronger voice in Ottawa to put our community first. Waterloo is a remarkable place. We're a smart city, we're an innovation hub, university town, and our tech sector is a powerhouse, driving Canada's economy forward. But beneath the headlines, we're grappling with the real pressing challenges that demand action. And let's be honest, despite our growth and potential, life in Waterloo is getting much harder for all of us. Our incumbent, I have a note here, our incumbent often starts her speech telling us how Waterloo, or Canada, actually is in the best fiscal position of any country in the G7. That is true, but that's only a half truth. Canada is in the best fiscal position of any country in the G7, but that doesn't affect us here as citizens. That may be great if Canada needs to get a loan from another country or some other businesses, but what's not the other part of the truth, as I said, it's a half truth. The other part of the truth is that we have the most personal debt of any country in the G7. If we can combine both of those things, just in the fiscal position and with our personal debt, we're kind of middle of the pack. It's nothing to really brag about. And as I mentioned, we need the whole truth, not just half the truth. But let's talk about housing. It's no secret that Waterloo's housing market is unaffordable for too many residents. Young families and students and seniors, we're being priced out. I just had my little granddaughter visit, and when I say little granddaughter, she's 2 weeks old, and I'm just wondering, what is the future for her? with regard to buying a house. First-time home buyers, and I have a son who's 30 years old, daughter's 33 years old. First-time home buyers are giving up hope, and renters are struggling to keep up with skyrocketing costs. We're one of the fastest-growing regions in Canada, but the federal government hasn't really stepped up as much as they could with the investments to build affordable housing. As I mentioned, we did have the half grant, but we're not as well off as people in government say that we are. We know it. We go to the grocery store. We put gas in our car. We realize that we're not as well off. And it's funny, in doing my research for this and just for this interview, it's not an interview, but for my unstructured time here on CKMS, it was interesting. On Tuesday, I was at a debate, and one of the debates actually was a couple of years ago. The incumbent said, Waterloo people are better off than they were 4 years ago. And could that person say that now? As your MP, I'll push for these federal programs. We are not better off now than we were 4 years ago, 10 years ago, 2 years ago, or at all. Things are sinking really super fast. So our infrastructure also is struggling to keep pace with growth. Our roads are congested, public transit needs expansion, our green spaces are under pressure. The GO train service to Waterloo is a start, but it's really not enough, and we need much more federal funding. We also need investments in sustainable infrastructure like green spaces and flood mitigation. In City Council, there was a interesting project brought up of a new grocery store in Waterloo. Do you guys remember where the White Rose used to be, beside the fire station? Possible grocery store there, but we're dealing with climate change and flooding, and there's certain. It's really interesting how we have to build differently now because of issues like that. I'll fight to bring dollars from Ottawa to our community just to ensure that our federal tax dollars are coming back to where they're needed the most. That could be the small businesses, which are the backbone of our community, and we're really feeling squeezed. Rising costs and high rents and competition from big corporations are making it really hard for our local shops and restaurants to survive. And these businesses aren't just I guess really want to say that these businesses aren't just economic engines; they're the heart of our community. And as your independent MP, I really want to fight for federal relief, like tax breaks and low interest loans, and just to really help our entrepreneurs thrive and not just survive. The seniors in our community, they deserve better. They deserve better support. Too many are struggling with rising costs of living and inadequate pension plans and limited access to home care. At the same time, our youth, the next generation of innovators, that we need opportunities to stay in Waterloo. That means more than just jobs. It means affordable education, mental health resources, community that invests in the future. And you know what? We can't forget our most vulnerable and those facing homelessness, food insecurity, and as I mentioned, mental health challenges. They need to know they won't be left behind. And I'll push, as I said, for federal funding to expand those social services, just to make sure that no one in Waterloo falls between the cracks. Waterloo's growth is a strength, but it's also a challenge. So we're adding thousands of new residents every year, but our federal funding hasn't kept up. As I mentioned, whether it's transit or green space or affordable housing, we haven't kept up. And I may sound like I'm repeating myself. I'm here on a 25-minute riff here, but as your MP, I really want to make sure that we get our fair share just to build the infrastructure and our services here. We have the people, we have the ideas, and all the talent here in Waterloo, but what we're really missing is a louder, stronger voice, independent voice that's not going to lay back because they're with this party. With a particular party. So I think we're really missing federal leadership that brings it all together, leadership that puts Waterloo first. And, as an independent, I'm not tied to to any party or Ottawa's priorities, and I'll work with this government to make sure that we get the funding that we deserve. I'll bring Waterloo's voice to the House of Commons loud and clear, and I won't stop until the community gets the results. So I think I'm running low on time, but I just want to quickly go through some of the platforms. So 5 key areas I'll fight for Ottawa, in Ottawa, to make Waterloo a stronger, fairer, and more vibrant. And these priorities come from my 50 years of living in this community. And first of all is affordable housing that makes sense. So Waterloo's housing crisis is hitting students, families, low-income residents the hardest. And we just can't keep building luxury condos, one-bedroom condos, and hope the problem solves itself. So I really want to advocate for federal funding that's tied to affordability. And secondly, small businesses and startups. Waterloo's economy thrives because our tech corridor and our family-run shops, but small businesses are being crushed by red tape and high costs and federal policies that treat them as afterthoughts. So I'll fight for less bureaucracy, better access to funding programs and tax breaks. On Monday, I hosted a group on 170 Columbia Street West. It was a group in the tech sector, and many of them didn't know about federal grants they could apply for. They're small businesses. Actually, they didn't even know there was a minister of small business in Ottawa that could advocate for them. And the ironic thing is that once upon a time, the minister of small business lived right here in Waterloo. Third, mental health challenges and addiction resources. Mental health is health, and it's a time that we treated it that way. So too many in Waterloo are struggling with mental health challenges and addiction, and our community supports are really, really stretched. So I want to fight for more federal funding there as well. Waterloo needs to care for every single resident. And fourth, climate action. That's local. So climate action, climate change is a global crisis. And I see Bob walking in here, so it looks like I may be running in. So I want to talk about climate action. Fifth, respect for institutions. And you know what? I will actually, maybe I'll just get right to talking about, why now? This election is a rare opportunity to change the game. So with this minority government as an independent MP, we can really hold power in this community. So I want to say that, election is a chance to make Waterloo your voice heard. So I'm Hans Roach, your independent MP. Want to learn more? Visit my website, hansroach.ca. That's HANSROACH.ca, and you'll find my full platform detailing how I'll tackle the Waterloo issues. You can sign up to volunteer, donate, work with me, have fun, let's connect, send me some messages. Campaign's all about you. Thanks, CKMS. Thanks, Bob.
You've been listening to Hans Roach, independent candidate for Waterloo on Meet the Candidate. The views expressed were those of the candidate, not necessarily those of the Radio Waterloo Board of Directors, volunteers, sponsors, or advertisers. All Waterloo Region candidates were invited to meet the candidate, but some candidates have declined to appear on the radio and some have not responded at all. Remember, the election is on Monday, the 28th of April. Show notes, podcast, and video will be available shortly on the Radio Waterloo website at radiowaterloo.ca/MTC. The show is produced by me, Bob Jonkman, in the studios of CKMS-FM. The theme music is Falling Sky by Jason Shaw of Audionautics.com and used under a Creative Commons Attribution Only 4.0 International License.